Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki Frazier and Rachel Dean, certified clinical aromatherapists. We are excited to have you here on today's episode where you know that you'll get the best essential oil scoop.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. If you want to learn more about how to become a clinical aromatherapist, check out the courses at www.schoolofessentria.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Frazier here, and I am very excited to have Amy Williams DeLong with us today, where we're going to talk all things about pets and aromatherapy. Amy Williams DeLong is a holistic pet care expert, certified animal aromatherapist, and instructor of animal aromatherapy. In her private practice, Amy helps pet parents find holistic solutions that help their animal friends live the best life possible, including teaching pet parents how to use essential oils safely while giving pets a choice in selecting aromatics. In addition, Amy brings unique insight into supporting animals holistically through her work as an animal communicator, intuitive energy healer, and Tellington TTouch practitioner, and other holistic modalities. Amy has supported hundreds of pet parents over the years, partnered with holistic veterinarians, and served as a veterinary assistant at wellness clinics on the Indian First Nation reserves. Amy is also dedicated to helping animals without devoted pet parents by supporting rescues, fostering, and transforming the lives of starved, neglected, and literal mangy mutts. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. And I know this is a big topic that I know we get a lot of questions on it, where our course really sticks to the kind of the foundations, that well-rounded or aromatherapy, but animal aromatherapy is a whole thing in and of itself, a whole course of it itself that you teach, and has a lot more things that need to come into account when working with essential oils and pets. We are so excited to have this conversation with you because we do get so many questions about, dogs and cats and hamsters and bunnies and even farm animals sometimes too. So usually we redirect them actually towards your site for that because we do like to try and stay in our lane. And I took a course with you that the CFA offered on animal aromatherapy, which I absolutely loved. It was just a little mini course and I learned so much. I loved so much stuff about it. So I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit of that stuff. But before we get started, we always like to ask all of our guests, what is your favorite essential oil?
Over the years, it's probably vetiver and lang lang.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting combo. Vetiver is that grounding that's just gonna, take you down a notch. And then lang lang one for that emotional balancing and calming nervous system. So, but I definitely lean to grounding oils in general.
Awesome. I get you on that one. That's my go-to also. So I'd love to know, how did you get into aromatherapy? And then how did you more specifically get into supporting pets with aromatherapy?
Yeah, so it was probably over 20 years ago or pretty darn close. A friend of mine who's a nurse was taking Jane Buckles' program. And this is, nothing online. So she'd go away for the weekend and she'd do her studies and come back and share with me everything she learned. And I'd be inhaling oils and I started using them for myself and my family. And then several years later, I was already working with animals as well at that time. And I took a animal healing class where the instructor incorporated essential oils. And she contradicted all the safety information that I had learned from my friends. And thankfully, there was a couple other people in that class that had also had exposure to more traditional aromatherapy practices, and we all just kind of looked at each other like, yeah, no, we're not doing this, not this way. But that really opened the door to, it was sort of one of those aha duh moments, yeah, why would I not use it with my animals? I was doing a lot of dog fosters in particular at that time. So that opened the door, and I did a lot of mostly self-study for several years. I didn't, because I had an animal business, I didn't want to do a human certification course and do case studies on, I wanted the information, but I didn't want to do case studies on humans.
Mhm.
So eventually there was a window where I had the time, and I did a certification course focused on animals. So I got to do my animal case studies.
Nice.
But that at that point I had done a lot of self-study. So I mean, it was more or less like filling in gaps and reinforcing things. And then beyond that too, like studying with Carolyn Ingraham and Nana Marag, and just continuing to expand and keep my fingers on the pulse of aroma, what's happening, because so much has changed, and there's veterinarians now using it and
Mm.
promoting things, and I come from, as a animal communicator, energy healer, I really come from that energetic perspective, that intuitive perspective.
Mhm.
So I'm always kind of like checking myself, like, does this feel right for this animal?
Yep.
Do I want to do that, this or that? And so kind of that's where my course comes in, is, from my experience and what I see from my background working with animals, from that energetic, intuitive place. And
Awesome.
hands-on too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm spent over 10 years on the reservations doing, in the trenches work, and not having a lot of resources, but I'd bring the oils, and I could calm these dogs, they're freaking out, and help notch them down a little bit.
Awesome. Awesome. That's amazing. And now when we're looking at using, like you said, there's a lot of contradictory information probably still out there. I know there is still a lot out there. Um, but when it comes to using aromatherapy with animals, does it matter the animal? So can, because I've seen, sometimes blanket statements of, this
Mm.
animal or this essential oil is good for all animals type thing. So does the animal type matter when using?
Yes and no. Well, I should say most answers that I give are it depends,
Yes,
right?
obviously, yes.
So, so yes, species does matter. We have extra things to consider with cats or the small pocket pets. Um, but overall, I mean, the oils are the oils,
Mhm.
right? So how they're going to work, and then maybe what I say, more than the species, I look at the individual and their sensitivity.
Mm,
So, like dogs and horses are going to be very comparable to humans. Their
okay.
anatomy, their physiology, all that's very similar. Um, one of the things you'll see is like size, right? That's one of those misinformation things that, well, you could dilute based on weight, or a horse can take so much more because they're 1,000 pounds and not,
Yeah.
50 pounds. And that's where, like, I disagree with that. I mean, because I can have a horse that needs a lot, and I could have a horse that is like, this is enough, right? I mean, just a little bit of inhalation and whoop, we're done.
Yeah.
So, and same with 100-pound dog versus a Chihuahua. I mean, I have um, German Shepherds that I work with that are search and rescue dogs. So their olfactory system works on overdrive,
Yeah.
and I do less with them than a 10-pound Pomeranian I work with.
Yeah. So just like people, animals are individual also, and
Yeah.
each one may have its own different sensitivity level on what it can handle, which is great. 'Cause yeah,
Yeah.
I think we often forget that animals
Yes.
are all unique. I work with a lot of babies, so I always have to remind people of, babies are all different and unique also. So it's the same thing of
Yeah.
like pets. They're all different, or animals. I keep saying pets, but animals in
Yes.
general are all different and unique individually and need to be looked at individually also, which is great. Um,
Yeah. And we don't talk about, I mean, the general out there on aromatherapy is all about essential oils, right? But they don't you know, a lot of those companies don't use hydrosols and they don't use herbs,
I was
right?
just going to get to that.
They just are essential oils. And sometimes even that they're limited, you know, if there's a particular company you like, and they may be limited in their product line
Mhm.
compared to aromatherapy in general. But yeah, so, you know, in that sensitivity scale, I might lean over towards the hydrosol or even
Mhm.
towards the herb of that same aromatic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and do you usually find hydrosols are a better option over essential oils for the most part? Or really, again, it comes to individual aspects and both can be used,
Yeah,
as long as, again, you're using, no matter what you're using it safely and being in tune with the
correct.
animal.
So,
Awesome.
like with birds, hydrosols would be my go-to first.
Okay.
I mean, I can do a misting spray of a hydrosol with birds, and even birds. I mean, if I'm dealing with a macaw and a parrot or a quaker, a cockatoo is different, way different than a canary, you
Yeah.
know, or a chicken. I mean, chickens are really hardy. So, you know, again, we have that whole scale of sensitivity.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the same with the little pocket pets, the guinea pigs, the even cats,
Bunnies,
I
hamsters.
bunnies, yeah, but I love hydrosols for skin issues.
Okay.
So, like I can't, I've used, you know, having fostered puppies, and you have, you know, my resident dogs, like that toy is mine, don't grab it. And when the
Yeah.
puppy grabs it, you know, puppy gets nicked or a little puncture from a canine. And we had one time where, you know, it was right up in the cheek by the eye, but I grabbed tea tree hydrosol,
Yeah.
you know, and in 2 days it looked like nothing happened.
Great.
You know, and for cats too, or the binds, I mean, that's where I think the hydrosol, her hydrolots, you know,
Depending on where you are in the world and what term, they're all the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love them for that.
Yeah.
But also for like people that, you know, if you don't want to pay for Neroli
Yeah.
or Melissa, you know, the hydrosols are a great solution and option for that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. That's great. So skin hydrosols are more typically recommended. Now, do you recommend, because there, when you're looking online, there are always three ways of using essential oils: aromatically, topically, and internally. Um, which ways do you typically recommend using essential oils? And I know it's going to depend
inhalation,
on what the issue is,
right.
obviously,
So I
but
only do topical if you can see it or touch it. And
okay.
or maybe a massage blend,
Yeah.
possibly. But even then, inhalation hands down. Almost every condition will benefit from inhalation.
Inhalation.
Um,
Awesome.
and managing pain and anxiety, inhalation. It's so as you know, it's fast, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you inhale and within seconds, minutes, you know, are having the effect.
Yeah.
Um, so, and with an animal's olfactory system, you know, it does not take much at all
No,
to
it's much more
get,
sensitive than ours as
oh,
humans.
far,
So, I mean,
far more.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So,
So,
and the
and
internal
early,
use is not recommended, I'm assuming.
I don't recommend it.
Perfect.
You know, there are veterinarians out there that promote it. I do think it could be done safely. Like if you're trained in aromatic medicine,
Mhm.
right? Um, and you wanted to take a look at your dog, for example, I would not do it with cats. Um, you wanted to try that with your dog, I mean, I think it could be done safely, but I do not recommend it. Also, because I'm not a veterinarian, and that kind of can cross over that
Yeah.
line to medication, right? That I'm treating something. So, but I can gain benefits from inhalation, and
Yeah.
it's so easy for pet parents to do.
Yeah, and I see, and I'm trained in aromatic medicine, and it's very, very rare that I would even think about it because 9.9 out of 10 times it aromatic or topical is all that's needed. And even at that, there isn't treated, supporting human versus supporting animals is very different in the training in itself too. So as much
Yeah,
as I'm
yeah.
training aromatic medicine for humans, that's not in animals. So I wouldn't
No.
even dream of using that knowledge and transferring it over to animals because it would be very different
Yeah, you would really
information
need to
needed.
understand, I mean, from my perspective, because they're working with so many veterinarians,
Mhm.
and I know the medications, I know all that stuff. So if you're gonna transfer over that aromatic medicine training, you'd really want to have a solid understanding of animal
Yeah,
anatomy, physiology, all of that.
exactly.
Which is probably, I
Exactly.
mean, that's why I think the veterinarians are more comfortable doing that.
Yeah, and if they have, the training and all of that.
Yeah.
But like you said, I agree with you that most things aromatically is going to be beneficial. That right there
Yeah.
is going to do the biggest impact. It gets into the bloodstream, it goes where it needs to go. It works on the autonomic nervous system. It gives that overall well-rounded support still, just by inhalation, which is fantastic.
And it's easy.
Yes. Especially when it comes to animals. And maybe that's a good segue to going into when we are using essential oils with animals. I know you're a big advocate for self-selection.
Yeah.
We went over that with the CFA course. I've seen a few of your videos that you've done it with also. Can you talk a little bit about that aspect?
Oh my. Um, yeah, it's one of those, it feels like so big. Where do I start?
Yeah.
But it also for me personally, it really aligns with animals getting a choice. And in living in our world, they really don't have a lot of choices. They're given a food, they're given a routine, they're given a place to live, a kennel, a bedroom, wherever. I mean, obviously more and more pet parents have their pets as their kids, so they may
Yeah.
seem like they have a choice, but if you're looking at them from a domesticated versus wild perspective,
Yep.
they don't have a lot of choice. And let's face it, we have a lot of stress. Living with us is living with each other is stressful, and our pets are picking up on that all the time.
Yep.
They're very, and intuitive, instinctual. So self-selection is a wonderful way to give them a choice. um, it's respectful of them because, if you just go dropping oils in the diffuser, they're smelling it even if you're not.
Yep.
And do they like that? Do they not like that? How do they feel about that? I don't know. A lot of people don't even pay attention, like, whoa, where'd my dog go? I don't know.
Yep.
Um, so even if you were like to I want to diffuse something for myself, if I know, like in this office, if I want to diffuse and Nala is laying here with me, I'll run the bottle by her that day. And like every day,
Mhm.
not, oh, she likes this, we're good. To see how she responds to that particular oil that day if she's going to be in here with me. But
Nice.
beyond that, um, the whole field of zoopharmacognosy comes into play where and this is, biology or biologists studied this, where the animals they pick their plants that they need when they're not feeling well, so they can
Mhm.
rebalance themselves, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw, there was a recent, oh gosh, it was in the news that there was, I think it was an orangutan that had a wound on its face, and it had literally gotten some plants, it had rubbed stuff on its face, and they watched this, and they had never um, recorded them actually doing it topically like that. And but it's very common, like in the ape world, if you will, that studying where they will even grab plants that are considered toxic, but they will eat just enough
Yep.
till they feel better, and then they're done.
Yep.
So they know. And it's that fine line. The difference between a medicine and a toxin is dosage,
Yep.
right? So so the we give our pets a choice when we do self-selection, but we also get to honor their knowing of what they need.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful sometimes. I've seen dogs that, the people, it's allergies. We got hot. In fact, it was just the other night, I was with a friend, and her dog has allergies, and she'd gotten a hot spot. And I was like looking at this, and I'm like, let's try pain relief, because I could see the neurological lines. I could see all this other stuff going on. But things like that get treated like an allergy, and it's not effective. It's not helping, but it's really hidden pain.
Yeah.
Right? So when we offered the dog, what did we offer? Copaiba and helichrysum. And
Nice.
in 2 minutes, the dog was out flat on his side, sleeping and not scratching and biting himself.
Nice.
So sometimes, like when we don't know what's going on, like I'll offer different, is this a digestive issue? Is this,
Yeah.
and offer different and see what they're being drawn to, and they can help us help them.
They are so intuitive to themselves. And I find as humans, we lose that. And I do a lot of like oracle cards, different things like that, because we're so into our own heads. We get into our heads, we get into the oils that we always like to use. So first off, we always have like our go-to oils, which is great. But sometimes it's like, okay, let's get out of our head because we are in this box of this is the knowledge. But we forget that, as humans, we are animals also, and we have a whole intuition part of us that we need to listen to more, that a lot of people ignore or lose the ability to tap into. And it's something that I always like to tune in and to tap into that, try and strengthen that more and more in myself, because it is something that's so easily lost as we get older, especially I find. And it's, animals don't lose that because they don't have that stress of thinking of like, okay, here's my to-do list. I have to do this for the kids. I have to do that. Like, I feel that gets drowned out by our to-do list and everything that's expected of us, that we forget the whole intuition part of ourselves that animals still have and can tap into and listen to all the time. So I think that's amazing, giving that option. And like you said, they'll know themselves which is going to benefit them the most, or which ones they're drawn to the most that day, that moment, for whatever's happening with them.
Right.
So
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. Other than, I think when we do listen to you, intuition is the basis of my business, really. And still I'll override it with my head sometimes.
mm,
I've just learned not to, like in communication, something comes through, I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But with practice, I know I'm going with it, and certain it'll resonate 100% with the pet parent, right?
yeah.
But yeah, our animals don't lose that.
No.
But we try to like shove it down, right?
We do, yeah. And
And I always say when I'm working with people that aren't familiar with energy, and especially cats, it's like, why do they hide before the doorbell rings?
mhm,
Or you need to
they
cut your
know.
dog's nails, and you go to grab the stuff, and when you come back, they're no longer there.
Or the
Or ear
camera. It's
cleaning.
always the camera also. They know when they're doing the
Yeah.
best thing. And then you turn around and they've been doing it for 10 minutes straight. You turn around for half a second to grab the phone and snap the cutest picture, and bam, they're gone. They just
Yes.
know.
They know when the focus shifts to them,
Yeah.
right? Energy healing is a lot about intention,
Yeah.
and when we shift our attention or intention towards them, they know.
Yeah.
And they may run, they may hide, they may come closer. They all have their own response to that. But
Yeah.
um, it's huge with. I kind of drive this home in my course a lot. I'm sure the students get tired of hearing it, but they're such energetic beings, and the plants and essential oils are energetic medicine
Yes.
as well, right? We can get hung up in the chemistry,
Yep.
and all of that. But the bottom line is there's an energetic and a vibe. I love your I love your name of the podcast. Um, they get the vibe of the aromatic, right,
Yeah.
of the whole plant
Yeah.
has an energy to it, and it's going to resonate or not resonate, because our animals that is their function. That's their survival mode, is to pay attention to everything, all this that's going around. Am I threatening? That's why when we're stressed, if we're
They
really
pick it.
worried or really anxious parents, I mean, I can't even tell you how many anxious people I work with that are wondering why their dogs are having so much anxiety. I'm like, yeah, they're feeling yours.
Yeah,
They look to you, and now I feel nervous because you're nervous.
absolutely.
And so from that, my one recommendation is always reduce stress. Reduce your stress,
Yeah,
which will reduce their stress. You know, if you want an oil to help or an aromatic to help them, what's going to help them relax? What's going to
yeah,
help calm the nervous system? Because
I
that
love that.
always helps any of us come back to balance, homeostasis. We get
Yeah,
closer.
absolutely. I love that. And one thing you said earlier had me thinking too, or questioning, when you're talking about like the diffuser going on. Now, some people say that animals will, so if the diffuser's going, I know we teach, you know, 30 max 60 minutes to diffuse for humans before taking at least an hour break. For children, even less, 10 minutes depending on age, even outside the room, things like that. Now, when you're diffusing with pets, one, does that make a difference in time wise? And two, do pets naturally know to go away when they may have tapped out or when they're not around an oil that they might like? I know you said that because a lot of people, you ask your pets to, are you okay with this? But will animals just kind of go away when they don't want to be around a diffuser that's going?
Some will. I think cats tend to, probably more so, just being cats, and
Hmm.
they're just more independent by nature. Um, some dog it will, I think it also depends on the context. Again, it depends,
Yeah.
because if I'm diffusing something in a large vaulted family room, for example, they could go to the other side of the room and be less impacted,
Yeah.
right? My concern is always people that are running it. Obviously they haven't taken your course, because they'll run a diffuser all night long, right? And a lot of animals sleep with them. So my experience says, if they have to choose between being with you or moving away from a scent,
They'll
most of them
choose
are going
you.
to choose to be with you.
That comfort outweighs the discomfort of the scent.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Interesting.
time-wise, I do recommend, similar to kids, 10 to,
Okay.
I mean, again, it depends on the room size and the
Yeah.
circumstances for the animals. And I guess I should be talking mostly more dogs, because I can diffuse intentionally with cats, but that would be more, I distinguish between therapeutic use of aromatics to help treat animals versus general aromatic use or general aromatherapy for my enjoyment or
Hmm.
my needs,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm doing it for my needs, or for what, I want something to smell good, I want to clear out the germs in my house or whatever,
Yeah, that viewpoint.
then I would, 30 minutes is usually the max that I'll do.
Perfect.
I will recommend to pet parents, like, you could do 30 minutes at the most. So it could be 10 minutes, 10 to 30, you know, once or twice a day.
Yeah.
You can do more if we're looking at therapeutic use. Um, there's the exception is for separation anxiety with dogs.
Okay.
There's like only 2 diffusers that I'm aware of, there may be more, that have a intermittent feature that will go on for 15 minutes. I think it's like 10 to 20, depending on the diffuser, and then it's off for 30,
Okay.
and it'll cycle that way. And at
Nice.
least, that's what I recommend when we're dealing with separation. If you're not there,
Yeah.
and we know that and that the dogs have selected certain oils, or we're going to use these certain oils to help deal with their anxiety,
Yeah.
then I would do that. But otherwise, Yeah, no one, we're not running 24/7. I'm not running 2 hours. I'm not,
That's
like,
just a recipe to bring your autonomic nervous system crashing and burning. Well, actually, you'd be up high in the sky because it'd be way too overstimulated, and then it would crash and burn. And
yeah.
as humans, let alone pets, 10 times more so, I would assume, because they're that much more sensitive than we are. Um,
Yeah, one of
so,
the adverse reactions that I see most common is lethargy.
mhm.
And this is where you gotta know your animal, right? And I use the analogy that if you were on pain meds, you have surgery and you're on some narcotic pain med, oxycodone or whatever, you know the difference between medicated, drugged, and relaxed,
Yeah.
right? There's a difference. And I see a lot of videos, a lot of them are like on videos, like, look how relaxed my dog is using these essential oils. And I'm looking like that dog's lethargic.
Yeah.
That's not relaxed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't recognize the difference. So I think that's one of the things that happens to, especially to dogs when like diffusers are going, because they really say, oh, like my dog's so relaxed with this around. Well, yeah, they're overexposed.
Yeah.
They're kind of
They've
shutting
had too
down,
much. Yeah.
lethargic.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it
And
accomplishes
I
the same goal, but it's not healthy.
no, right? You don't want to over force that onto the pets where they do become to that point. And that's again, right, the importance of taking those breaks. So great to know, twice a day type thing as a max, on average to do it type that way. Because it is, I know a lot of people do like to diffuse for even like 2 to 3 hours, or they forget that it's on or things like that. So I always like the ones with the timers that automatically do turn off so that you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to set the timer to go back and turn it off in 20 minutes. It's just like, okay, it's got the 20-minute, the 30-minute timer, and then just turn it off.
Yeah.
So
Or I'll
that,
tell people set an alarm on your phone
yeah,
for 20 minutes. Or the other option, because some people, pet parents I work with they've never worked with aromatics. And so I just say use a cotton ball or a cotton pad or
yes.
something, right? And just put a drop on there. And that tends to, there's less concern really because it's just going to evaporate
Yep.
and go away.
Yeah.
And it's not so intense, but you're not diffusing a whole house like that. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely great. Now I'll open up a whole new can of worms that might be controversial, but let's dive a little bit into the cats. I know you've mentioned cats a few times. There's so much misinformation out there, and I find a lot of fear mongering out there when it comes to using essential oils, aromatherapy, and cats especially. A lot of people have heard that they don't have the enzyme to digest it. So, you use essential oils around a cat and they're going to die. I feel like there's so much of that out there from, a few articles that came out years ago where I think a cat did pass away, but I think it was like extremely old and extremely ill from other things as well. Um, so can you just talk a little bit about the controversy out there around essential oils in cats, and can we use them around cats?
Yes. Yes, we can. As we
Awesome.
were saying, as we were talking, if they
Yeah.
were so toxic to cats, there would be a lot, sorry for being so blunt, but there would be a lot more dead cats in
Right?
all of
It's
these households that are diffusing essential oils, right?
yeah.
So so yes, there was years back, there, this goes back to like, I know a study that was in 2014, and there was some other research things done before that. Nothing in terms of research, there is nothing clear that says, yes, you can use it, no, you can't use it, because nobody's subjecting cats to that fatal dose of essential oil,
No.
right? So it's all oh, the word's escaping me, but evidence based on experience,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that we know, the truth part about the metabolism is they do lack I don't want to say lack, because cats are perfect as they are.
Mhm.
They have different metabolisms than like all other species. So you're
Yeah.
talking, I mean, whether it's our domestic cats or your lions and tigers. So there's a phase 2 liver enzyme that they do not have that other species have. And that consequently, that takes a lot long. There are certain chemicals that take a lot longer for the cat's metabolism to process.
Yeah.
And when it's translating to aromatherapy, that's specifically like alcohols and phenols. Those are the two big categories that, constituent wise, we know that cats are going to be a lot slower to metabolize, your thymols, your eugenols, the phenols, and some other the stronger essential oils.
Yeah.
But that's an over time thing. So the biggest concern is overexposure.
Yep.
Right? And to keep in mind, especially if you're diffusing ultrasonic, those water droplets are going to land somewhere.
Yeah.
And if they land on your cat and your cat's grooming, they're going to ingest that. So that's something that people forget about.
Yeah.
But it's that overexposure, like too much, over too long, however they're using it, so that the liver gets backed up, right? I
Yep.
mean, the liver enzymes going up is the biggest concern. When it's spaced out, if you're only diffusing for 10 minutes, twice a day, even if it was one of those blends that contains oregano or cinnamon, they're very popular. The cats should be fine. Again,
Yep.
I'm not going to diffuse it right next to them, but I used ultrasonic diffuser in a cattery. It was quite a nice arrangement, actually. So in rescue, this lady had the upper half of a duplex,
Mhm.
was all for feline leukemia positive cats.
Oh
So they
my.
had like this whole apartment for
Wow.
themselves. And we diffused lavender in there. And we set it up on the counter, but over here we had windows open, and we had windows, just cracked open a little bit. And it was really fun. I think it's always fun. You see the cats, some of them came up and laid right by it,
Yeah.
and then others moved away over towards the windows or
Yeah.
away from this place. So again, they're instinctual. They're going to know what they need. That supports, if you don't know, FeLuke is an immune system issue. And it's contagious between cats. It can be contagious, but you're going to be immune compromised. So supporting the immune system for them is really important. And, lavender, some love it, some like it, some
Yeah.
don't. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're using it to support their health.
Awesome.
Right? But then that's also like you can go to hydrosols, or my favorite, when possible, is to use herbs
Yeah.
and use a dried herb. You get the whole plant for one thing. So speaking of that, I mean, I really like CO2s with animals as well, because it's more the whole plant.
I wish CO2s were easier to find. Is it like in
Yeah.
Canada, they're so hard to find? I know there's at least a couple places in the US that you can get
Well,
them, but it's
yeah,
even
they're hard to
harder.
find. I don't think I only know 2 sources.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
and there's not a lot.
no,
Right?
unfortunately.
But the dried herbs are really great. They're really wonderful. We refer to it like as an herb garden. I think you probably saw some of the videos where you can put down, different herbs just on the floor, and they can walk through it like it's a garden,
Yeah.
and they get to engage, walk past it, ignore it, roll on it, lay next to it, whatever they want. And even if they don't need any of those herbs, it's great enrichment,
Yeah.
especially for indoor cats. That gives
Yeah.
them something else to engage with.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
and it's safer, like pet parents, like, I mean, they don't have to worry about the safety factors.
Yeah.
They usually don't, I mean, if they ate a whole bunch of it, it would be a problem for their digestive system. But
But again, that intuition comes in where they wouldn't
yeah,
do that,
right.
because they would
It
stop themselves before getting to that point.
yeah, yeah.
So awesome. And I know there's one thing that you mentioned in that was, when diffusing of it, those droplets are going somewhere and they're licking, they're grooming themselves. The other thing too is us as humans applying them to our skin, and then cats coming over and licking our skin. I know when I used to come out of the shower, we've had two cats. Unfortunately, neither one were good stories, where we weren't able to have them long because of illnesses that happened, or they just disappeared. But it's they loved coming over and licking my skin, my legs, as soon as I would come out of the shower or as soon as I would put lotion on. And I didn't even have any oils in the lotion. It was just like a regular lotion, like just a plain unscented lotion half the time. And they would like instantly come up and just start licking my legs wherever it would be, and I was just like, "Always?"
Yeah.
So, just something else to keep in mind of if you are applying, something topically to yourself, and then your pets are coming over, maybe not picking up your rabbit instantly right after applying essential oil, or, letting your dogs or your cats lick you as soon like seconds after you're applying something
If they do
topically.
that, I would be noting down, what did I just put on? And I would offer it to them for inhalation.
Mm, awesome.
Or in zoopharmacognosy, applied zoopharmacognosy, when we're using essential oils or any aromatic as self-medication,
Mhm.
that is the time where I would allow oral use. Um,
Mm.
but I'm not adding to their food. I may have
Yeah.
like drop it diluted or undiluted on hands, rub hands together and offer it. And if they choose to lick that, even if it's
Okay.
undiluted drop, just virtue of rubbing your hands together is going to kind of dilute that.
Yeah.
If they choose to lick it at that point, then it's like they need that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I'm
Good to
okay
know.
with it that when they choose
They
it,
choose it. Yeah. You're not
not
adding a drop to their water, to their food, to
right,
whatever. It's, yeah.
right.
But okay. Okay. Good to know. That's awesome then.
Although, we can put hydrosols in a bowl of water, right? And leave that out. And if they drink
Yeah.
that, that would be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, hydrosols and essential oils are very different in their
Yes.
in their makeup and safety
Yeah.
aspect. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Good to know also though, of it is okay to add that. Awesome. Just looking at the time, if you could maybe, do you have like maybe a top three or five, maybe three essential oils that are kind of your go-tos? And I know it's going to depend on what the situation is, each individual, all of that, but like, do you have a few that are kind of overall generally known as safe, especially for cats and dogs, because I think that's what most people have in their house where they're looking for that support, that it would be like, okay, these are the safer ones to look at using.
Um, I would, in a very broad statement, I'd
Yeah.
look at kid-friendly oils, right?
Okay.
So if I can
Perfect.
use them with my 2-year-old or 4-year-old, 5 and under, call
Yeah.
it, generally those are gonna be fine.
Awesome.
Safer. I never say like, it's like they are safe. Now they're safer, right? It's
Yeah.
all about
Nothing's
how we
100%. Yeah.
right, exactly. But yeah, it does depend on the circumstance. If it's for pain, German chamomile and copaiba would be
Okay.
on the top list. In
Nice.
fact, probably German chamomile is one of my like top for everything.
Okay.
Because you're antihistamine, you're relaxing. I can calm a nervous system. I can calm and soothe some itching. I can bring down what do I want to say, aggressive or, I don't like saying dogs or animals are angry, but, they get crabby
Those high
sometimes.
emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you have the chamomile factor and it's anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
So it's excellent for pain reduction. But I also love it as a hydrosol. So like
Mm.
my dog got stung by a bee a few weeks back and it was right by her eye. And this is a dog who needed a vet visit previously for um, because she, her head blew, her head started swelling up one time. So
Oh, no.
on my radar, and I called the vet couldn't see her. So it was either my toolbox or the ER.
Yeah.
And so I had some homeopathics that we used, but also I had the German chamomile in the fridge, which was really convenient because it was cool, and
Yeah.
a
Which
cotton
helps.
pad, and I just compressed her eye for,
Oh,
half an hour, and she just leaned into it.
yeah.
So, and because we've used German chamomile with her for pain, that's kind of one of her go-tos. It was totally fine. And within 2 hours, her eye you wouldn't know what happened. And
Awesome.
so it's great for skin. It's great for eye goops. It's great for, allergy eyes, anything like that. So Durham is definitely one of my tops. Um, and broad, I like trees,
Mhm.
balsam fir, black spruce, juniper, cedar wood is probably one of the top ones.
Nice.
Or if you have an anxious animal in your home.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
which cedar wood do you typically use? Because I know.
my favorite's Atlas,
Okay.
but for sustainability, I'll substitute Himalayan.
Okay.
I don't use the Texas or juniper for emotional issues. I'll use
Okay.
those for bug repellents.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
Gotcha.
emotional will go with
Himalayan.
sustainable Atlas
Yeah.
or Himalayan. And for cats, oh, one other thing for dogs, I think, everybody thinks lavender for relaxation. My experience, lavender is not a favorite of a lot of animals, but choose bergamot instead.
Oh,
So for
okay.
some relaxation, and it's a little uplifting, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Like that.
the bergamot or cedarwood orange combo is a nice calming, like if you've never used something with your pets, put a drop or two of each into your diffuser, and you can,
See.
it's safe and it's good and it's uplifting and it can calm a household.
Nice.
Um, so, and never more than four or five drops into that diffuser when you're around
Yep.
pets.
Yeah.
And for cats, actually valerian root as
Okay.
a dried herb
Yeah.
is kind of go-to. They like it. Tend to prefer it over even catnip. Um, and it will bring, they have that kind of high. I think spikenard is very similar, but again, sustainability, so I don't use that.
Yeah.
But they'll roll around in it and they'll just play with it, and then
Really?
yeah,
That's
I
good to know.
had a cat. I think yeah, watch our time here, but this is such a cool story. The cat older, middle-aged cat-ish or something, and the person has always had dogs. Cat's very dog friendly, but she got a puppy, a boxer puppy, who was much more energy than the cat wanted to deal with. And cat started slinking around behind the furniture and ultimately stopped using the litter box. So they went to the vet. This is before she knew me. She went to the vet and they put her on kitty Prozac, and, not a lot of change, whatnot. So then we tried offering different herbs and she selected the valerian. And ultimately, long story short, she was using the litter box. She was off her medications,
Nice.
and they recently moved, and the person had run out of valerian, and I was checking in with the cat. I'm like, do you have valerian? Because she's missing her valerian. And she was in a funk, and they got her valerian back, and then she was more by herself. But I literally got a video because of the dogs. She never put the herb on the ground,
Yeah.
and she had it in a baggie, and she had it like behind on her desk. And I got a video of the cat coming up trying to grab the baggie of valerian. She had worked her nails and holes into it, so it was her own little,
Yeah.
like inhaler type thing going there.
Yeah.
And she'll come get her dose and off she goes. And
Awesome.
so that's, stuff like that's like just so fun,
Yeah.
and they can help themselves
Yeah.
when they need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Any parting words for our listeners before we chime off?
Reduce your stress. Get off your phone, reduce your stress, be present with your animals, with your dogs, with your cats, bunnies, whatever it is. Um, and just really be with them and see them, because I think, they're there and we know they're there and we love them, but so many people just miss the signs of what they're always communicating to us. Their body language is very, watch a video. Well, reach out. I'll send you a link of like how to, videos of body language, or Google it or something, because their body language is always communicating. And we just need to take the time to stop and be present with our animals like they are with us.
Yeah.
They're only in the moment, and they love it when we're in the moment with them completely, fully.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And like you said, they pick up on our emotions, so being present and relaxing ourselves will only benefit them as well. So
Yes.
awesome. And any of our listeners who want to connect with you, can you share where they can find you?
Best place is my website, which is amywilliamsdelong.com. But I also have a Facebook group called Animal Aromatherapy Made Easy.
Mhm.
So you can hop in there, and there's a lot of resources and some videos, and I have a YouTube channel as
Yeah.
well as Amy Williams DeLong that has a lot of videos, info on essential oils and aromatics, but also those videos demonstrating animals selecting
Mhm.
aromatics.
Yeah, I love that. And all of that's going to be in the show notes as well, so you can just kind of scroll down and find those. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. So happy to talk about this subject that is, I know, near and dear to a lot of pet parents' hearts, of wanting to keep pets safe, but still wanting to use their essential oils as well. So thank you so much, Amy. And thank you to our listeners for chiming in today. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for spending your time with us here at Vetiver Vibes. This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. Don't forget to check out some of our free resources at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think would enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, you can go on over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and we will send you a free guided meditation as our way to say thank you.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply directly to you.